If we think about the covenant story of the Bible, usually that story revolves around what's known as the covenant of works and the covenant of grace. Behind both is really the triune God from eternity past, making his plan, and all things come to pass according to his counsel, according to his will, as Paul puts it in Ephesians 1. So as it were, as God is writing the story and orchestrating the narrative, when we come to history, how do we see it unfold? And we really see a big two-part movement. There are two Adams, and if we look at 1 Corinthians 15, the language that Paul uses is almost as though there are only two men who have ever lived, Adam and Jesus Christ, the first Adam and the last Adam. And as the Puritan Thomas Goodwin liked to say, it's as though you should picture two gigantic men walking with all humanity hanging off of their belt. One is Adam, the first Adam. One is Jesus Christ, the second Adam. And if we start with the second Adam, we learn very clearly in the Lord's Supper that what he did in covenant. His blood is the blood of the covenant. By his obedience, he makes many righteous in Romans 5. Through his suffering, he dies in the place who ought to suffer. By being cursed of God, he receives the curse we ought to have received. And so everything that Jesus Christ did, he did in our place as the second Adam. Well, if the second Adam is in covenant with God, then so is the first. There's no second Adam without a first Adam. And so again, though the term covenant doesn't appear in Genesis 1 and 2, what we see is the first Adam represents his people. When he sins, we sin. When he dies, we die. His children are corrupted. We are his corrupt children. We experience sickness. We experience brevity of life. We experience physical death. We experience spiritual separation from God. And ultimately, if we're not in Christ, we experience eternal death and eternal judgment. The second Adam, Jesus Christ, through the new covenant in his blood, represents his people as well. Where he obeys, we obeyed in him. Where he was filled with the Spirit, we received the Spirit of Jesus Christ. Where he was taught by the Spirit the fear of the Lord and learned how to live as a righteous man, so that Spirit leads us to live as righteous men and women, trusting in Jesus Christ, trusting him for forgiveness, trusting him for transformation as well. And so the first Adam was in a covenant of works, and the condition of that covenant was his obedience before the Lord. If he succeeded, he succeeded for us. If he failed for us and with us with him. The second Adam, Jesus Christ, fulfills a covenant of grace for us, and he does so by standing in our place and doing what the first Adam didn't do. And so the condition for him is his perfect obedience, his righteous suffering, so that as we lay hold of him by faith, he's fulfilled the conditions of the broken covenant in Adam, but he's also brought us into a gracious covenant through faith.